Hi everyone! So in today's video, I want to answer the question that so many of you have been asking. Do you really need to register your copyright for your KDP books, or is it automatic? Many of you have asked me about copyright and how you should go about protecting your KDP books, whether it is necessary to register with the US Copyright Office, and whether there are faster and more cost-effective alternatives. So in today's video, I'd like to answer all of those questions and share my views on the topic of copyrights in the context of KDP. Now, before we get started, just a quick note, I'm not a copyright attorney, so this isn't legal advice. However, what I'll be sharing comes from my own experience, understanding, and in-depth research. So let's start by taking a look at what the US Copyright Office actually says. According to their website, copyright is a type of intellectual property that protects original works of authorship as soon as an author fixes the work in a tangible form of expression. They go on to explain that a work is considered fixed when it is captured in a permanent medium, something that can be perceived, reproduced, or communicated for more than just a short time. For example, when you write it down or record it. And under their section on who is a copyright owner, they make it clear. Everyone is a copyright owner. Once you create an original work and fix it, like taking a photo, writing a poem or blog, or recording a new song, you are the author and the owner. So in plain terms, for those of us creating books to publish on KDP, the moment you finish creating your book and save it in a fixed form, like writing the manuscript or designing the cover and interior, you automatically own the copyright. You may be wondering, if I automatically own the copyright the moment my book is finished, why would I need to take any further steps? Well, that's because it's one thing to own your copyright, but quite another to protect it and be able to prove it if anyone ever questions your rights. For example, if someone copies your book on Amazon, or worse, if someone accuses you of copying their book, how do you actually prove you're the rightful copyright owner? And KDP actually points this out too. In their Intellectual Property Rights FAQ, they explain, in some cases when you submit your book for publication through KDP, we may request additional documentation to confirm that you hold publishing rights before the book can be made available for sale. If your content has been previously published in whole or in part, or created by someone other than yourself, you may want to gather any relevant documentation prior to submission in case it is requested. And this isn't rare. Many KDP self-publishers have reported receiving emails from Amazon with the subject line, publishing rights information needed for your Amazon KDP books. These emails usually only give you 5 days to provide valid proof of your rights, which really isn't much time if you're not prepared for it. And sometimes the consequences are very real. Just a month ago, a KDP self-publisher shared on Reddit that Amazon terminated their KDP account for imitating a previously published book, even though they say they were the original creator. That decision apparently locked them out of more than $70,000 in pending royalties, and despite their efforts, it appears they've been unsuccessful in convincing Amazon otherwise. So this leads to another common question. If this can happen, is a copyright page in your book enough to protect your rights? The short answer is no. Amazon's Intellectual Property Rights FAQ makes this clear. The copyright page included in the book content is not sufficient to prove that you hold the necessary publishing rights. That said, I still recommend including one I included in all of my books. While Amazon doesn't accept it as proof of your rights, it still adds a level of professionalism to your book and can act as a simple deterrent to people who may want to copy your book. So here's the big question. Should you register your KDP books with the US Copyright Office? Registering with the Copyright Office is the official way to get the maximum level of protection. While Amazon doesn't require registration to publish with them, having it gives you the strongest legal standing if your rights are ever challenged. In fact, if you ever need to take legal action, let's say someone steals your work, you can't actually take someone to court in the US for copyright infringement unless your work has been formally registered. That's the key difference between simply owning the copyright and being able to enforce it. Now let's talk about costs. Registration isn't free, it's charged per work, so in our case, per book. The fee is either $45 or $65 depending on your situation, and here's how that breaks down. The $45 single application option only applies if you created the entire book completely on your own. So for example, if you wrote and illustrated a children's book entirely yourself, no outside illustrator, no co-author, no third-party graphics, then you can use the $45 single application. In all other cases though, you'll need to use the $65 standard application. That includes situations where you've hired an illustrator or used any third-party graphic elements like Canva. In those cases, you'd still register the book as your original work, but you would need to disclaim the specific graphic or design elements that you don't own personally. And this is where costs can really add up. If you only have a handful of books, it's manageable. But if you have published dozens or even hundreds of titles, paying $65 per book can get expensive very quickly. Timing is another consideration. Online applications usually take about 1 to 3 months to get approved, and it can take longer if the Copyright Office comes back with any questions for you. That can be a real problem if Amazon suddenly asks you for proof of rights, since they typically only give you 5 days to respond, and telling them your registration is still pending won't cut it, especially if you don't have any other documentation to show them. The process itself is actually pretty straightforward, and I've linked the official copyright.gov registration page in the description below where you can sign up and start registering your books. So when is it actually worth registering your book with the Copyright Office? In my view, the clearest case is when you've got a book that's already making decent money. Even if it's just a low or medium content book, it's probably worth registering to protect that royalty stream. Of course, if there are other books that you feel strongly about protecting, that really comes down to your personal judgment. But this brings up the obvious question. If you only register the books that are already profitable, what about all the other ones? That's where alternatives come in, options that can be faster and more affordable than full registration. Now, if you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars registering every single book with the US Copyright Office, there's a really practical alternative that many authors, illustrators, and designers use, and it's called Protect My Work. Protect My Work is what's known as a third-party witness service. In plain terms, that means when you upload your book files, they instantly generate an independent certificate with a date and a timestamp on it. It also captures the metadata, things like when your file was originally created, and it gives you a unique reference number. The certificate comes as a shareable link, which means you can then share that directly with Amazon if they were to ever ask you to prove your rights. In terms of pricing, Protect My Work charges a flat annual fee of about £44, which works out to around $60, and that includes credits to register your first 5 books. After that, it's just £1, which is around $1.40 per additional book. To put that into perspective, registering 10 books with the US Copyright Office could cost you about $650. With Protect My Work, it is closer to just $67. And the turnaround time is another big advantage. While registering with the US Copyright Office can take 1 to 3 months, Protect My Work gives you the certificate almost instantly after you upload your files. And speed matters because if Amazon emails you with one of those prove your publishing right notices, they usually only give you 5 days to respond. Authors in the self-publishing community have shared that Protect My Work certificates have worked well for them as valid proof in those situations, which makes it a great safety net to have ready. Another reason why people trust Protect My Work is its track record. The company's been around since 2002, it's UK registered, and it has nearly 1,000 5-star reviews on Trustpilot, which makes it a well-established and trusted option. Now, just one limitation. A Protect My Work certificate isn't the same as a US copyright registration. If you ever needed to take someone to court in the US, this wouldn't be enough. But for most KDP self-publishers, that's usually not the main scenario you're preparing for. In reality, the bigger concern is making sure that your books are protected from copycats and that you're prepared if Amazon ever questions your rights. And for that, Protect My Work is an excellent middle ground. It's fast, affordable, and independent proof that you can show right away. Now let me show you exactly how it works with a quick demo.
So once you land on the Protect My Work website, the first thing you want to do is to log in with your email and password. If you haven't already registered with them, then you would want to go ahead and do that first. So once you've registered and logged in, what you want to do is to come down to Upload Work and click on this. So now we can go ahead and put in the details and upload the files associated with the book that we want to generate a certificate for. So for purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use one of the children's books that I had previously published, and the name of that book is Nothing Beats Home, and the subtitle is A Little Bear's Adventure Away from Home. So I'm just going to put that in there. So in your case, if you're publishing a coloring book, an activity book, a journal, or a children's book, you can go ahead and put the title of that book in here as well. The next thing you want to do is to take a look at this checkbox here. So it says add additional copyright holders information, insert your pen or artist name, for example, and details of any part of the work that has not been created by you. For example, details of library photos you have used or music music licenses you have purchased from third parties. So in this case, you would want to check off this checkbox if you had used a pen name for publishing the book that you want to get the certificate for, or if your book has leveraged any third-party graphic elements such as from Canva or Bookbolt or Publisher's Vault or Creative Fabrica or any sort of third-party source. In addition, if you had hired an illustrator for, say, illustrating your children's book, you would want to make reference to that here as well. So in my case, because I did use Canva elements for my book, I would want to put this verbiage here. So includes Canva licensed free and pro elements under the Canva content license agreement. So in my case, I'm making reference to both free and pro elements because I do have a Canva Pro subscription. But in your case, if you had only used free elements or don't have a Canva Pro subscription and wouldn't have used any pro elements, then you can remove the reference to this. But in my case, I'm going to leave it as both. And then the Canva content license agreement is basically just referring to their actual Canva content license agreement on their website. And of course, if you did have a pen name, you would want to put that information in here as well. So once you put in all the pertinent information in that section, we can move on to the next section to start uploading the files. So the first file I want to put in is the cover file for my book. So I'm going to go ahead and put in this PDF, which is the same file that I would have uploaded to Amazon KDP. The next file is the interior file, so I'm going to pull that in as well. The third file, because up here we had referenced the Canva content license agreement, I would want to actually put in a PDF version of this Canva content license agreement as well. So all you have to do is print to PDF, save it as a PDF, and then upload it here, which I've already done that, so I'm going to pull that in as well. And then the fourth file I'm going to put in here because I did mention Pro Elements, and that's because I have a Canva Pro subscription. I also want to pull in my Canva Pro annual subscription invoice. I can go ahead and pull that in as well. And then from here, you can also pull in a fifth file. For example, if you're publishing a children's book and you also have an ebook version, you can go ahead and put that as your fifth file. In my case, I'm just going to leave that off for now, and I'm going to come to acknowledgement. So I'm going to check the acknowledgement box off. What that means is by checking this box, you claim that the work you're about to upload is original in nature and that you're either the original creator or the legal rights holder. So in this case, I am, so I can go ahead and leave that check. And then now we can go ahead and upload. So very quickly, you'll see that Protect My Work has generated the certificate for me, which includes all the key details like registration date, copyright owner name, additional copyright owners, which I've mentioned about the Canva license free and pro elements, also the work title, which is the book title. And then under certified files, you can actually download. So these are the 4 files that I had uploaded earlier. You can actually download them. So when you share this link with Amazon, they'd be able to download it as well to see that the file that they download from the certificate matches the one that we had published on Amazon. So this was my cover files. And if you click on here, you'll also be able to see the metadata information for each of the files you've uploaded as well. So if you click into the My Work section here, you'd be able to see the certificate we had just generated. And from here, you can either view the certificate, you can download it as a PDF, and even better, you can actually generate a shareable link here. So if you click on Share, it'll generate a link for you, which you can just copy and then paste it into an email to share with, say, Amazon if they emailed you to ask you for proof of your publishing rights. And that's pretty much it.
So that's how Protect My Work works, a fast, affordable way to add an extra layer of protection to your books. At the end of the day, whether you choose full US copyright registration, a third-party service like Protect My Work, or both, the key is being prepared so you don't get caught off guard if Amazon ever asks you to prove your rights. Now, if you'd like to go deeper on another important piece of this puzzle, Canva licensing terms and what you're allowed and not allowed to do when creating covers or interiors with their graphic elements, I've got a full video breaking that down step by step. I'll link it right here on screen and down in the video description below so you can check it out next. And as always, if you found this helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.